Right now on Denver 7 News at 6 a.m., get ready to see a lot more maskless people walking around the metro.
I'm Denver 7's Veronica Acosta. Denver's mask mandate, that ended overnight, and soon other counties will follow suit.
Plus, it's being called a potential game changer for COVID testing.
Very fast and very cheap. Okay, so the opposite of PCR.
The new test that uses an app on your phone to detect the virus.
And buyers are up against a lot in Colorado's housing market.
The market is on steroids.
It's leading some to take unprecedented measures to get the house they want.
Most people are giving up their rights for an inspection objection.
A little later, the do's and don'ts in this very difficult housing market. A good Friday morning to you. I'm Nicole Brady.
And I'm Brian Sanders. A lot to think about there. Good Friday morning to you. It is still really cold out there as you wake up. Temperatures near single digits. Not quite as cold as yesterday, Lisa, but I mean, let's be honest. At what point does it not matter? It's so cold.
Yeah, if your nose hairs are freezing, right, it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right, 1 degree.
That's what it was like yesterday. Today is a little better, maybe not so dramatic. We are looking at temperatures that are about 20 to near 30 degrees warmer across the eastern plains this morning. Denver's still on the chilly side. We've seen those temps dip below zero early on. Right now, though, 13. It's going to feel like about 1 to near 10 degrees below zero, depending on the neighborhood. Lots of sunshine, though, and it's going to warm up a lot faster today. Take a look at the hourly planner. We're going to go from, it looks like, again, single digits and teens this morning to pretty much doubling that by noon, right around freezing, and then highs will be closer to 40 this afternoon. So you saw some melting yesterday. You're going to get even more of it today and tomorrow. It's even warmer on Saturday. Coming up on our Super 7 Day, I'll show you that, plus what could happen with our weak cold front on Sunday coming up.
But watch out for some of those areas that turned to slush yesterday, and then somebody drove through that slush, threw it onto the sidewalk or onto some of the roadways, and then it froze overnight, which can make it obviously very slick and pretty chunky. This is up to across the 225 drive. You can see how dry the highway is. On the edges, right there in the crash wall and here on the shoulders, you're going to find that ice and snow, but the main lanes are basically dry. Take a look, though, up in Boulder, where you can still see it looks a little bit slick for you in some of these areas, including in between lanes and transitioning from main roads to secondary roads or neighborhood roads. That's still going to be a little tricky with still a lot of ice and snow in the neighborhoods. But for the most part, the major highways, major roadways look pretty good. There are still obviously some isolated icy spots. Tour from the airport looks just fine, and no other major crashes or problems just yet to get in your way.
Well, for the first time in months, starting today, you can be indoors in Denver without wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's true in a lot of places. The city and county's mask mandate has expired. There are some exceptions, though. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us live from Larimer Square downtown. And Veronica, we're kind of seeing this ripple effect of mask orders starting to drop in other counties as well.
We are, and starting today, when you go to spots like where we are with restaurants and shops like the ones that are behind me, you're not going to have to wear those masks unless those businesses are still requiring them. And of course, you mentioned those exceptions, places like Denver schools and childcare facilities. You're still going to have to put your mask on for those. So Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, he made the announcement to go ahead and not extend the mask mandate. He did that back on Monday. Now, officials said they're allowing data to lead their decisions here. They added a downward trend of COVID-19 cases since late January led them to this. Other cities and counties across the Front Range, they aren't too far from here. Broomfield's mask mandate, that ends today. Jefferson County voted to end its mask mandate on February 18th. Meantime, Adams and Arapahoe mandates, those expire tomorrow. And despite mask mandates expiring across the Front Range, businesses can choose to keep them. And if they do, officials want customers to be respectful of that.
Other businesses and venues may decide to continue to require masks or proof of vaccination. They are well within their rights to do so, and we should support them for doing what they feel is necessary. I want to be clear and ask the public, please, this is no reason to give their staff a hard time.
And something to keep in mind this morning is that Denver Mayor Michael Hancock did mention that if at any point the COVID-19 numbers do spike, there is a possibility to go ahead and adjust this all over again, maybe even putting in a mask mandate once again. We're in downtown Denver. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Yeah, and one place, Veronica, where they will still require a mask is the Children's Museum of Denver. It is scheduled to reopen tomorrow after a 10-day closure. The museum closed last Wednesday, and they said the reason was that people had been taking out their anger over the mask policy on staff. When the museum reopens, you will still need a mask and you'll have to make a reservation. The White House is preparing to send out vaccines for kids under 5 years old. The FDA's advisory committee will meet February 15th to review data from the company. The vaccine would then need to be authorized by the full FDA and CDC.
A team of scientists think they've created a new COVID test with faster but just as accurate results. It's an app and a lab kit that turns your smartphone into a COVID-19 detection system. Scientists say these kits are a fraction of the cost of current testing.
You spit into a cup, you pour it into a reaction mix, our magic mix. You put it into on a hot plate. You put the phone on top of a box. You turn it on and you leave. Okay, 25 minutes later, this thing will show up on your phone. And if you have a green dot, you're good. A red dot with a little exclamation point, you're not good.
There you go, just that easy. The test is called the Smart Lamp. Researchers say it's just as accurate as the PCR test, and you can get results in 25 minutes. And the test can be run for less than $7. Compare that to the $150 PCR test if it isn't covered by insurance. They plan to submit the test to the FDA for emergency use authorization.
Drama in Douglas County continues. New this morning, there's an effort to remove some school board members accused of trying to force the superintendent out behind closed doors. That same board will discuss the superintendent's future at a public meeting later tonight. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon joins us with these major updates in this controversy that even led to school being canceled yesterday. Colette.
Yeah, students are heading back to the classroom today, but parents, teachers, staff certainly will be watching what happens next with the superintendent very closely. There's an online petition going around calling for the removal of certain school board members, saying they broke the law violating open meeting laws. That petition's goal is to get to 10,000 signatures. Already, it's just a couple hundred off. Now, those allegations from 3 school board members say the new board majority held closed-door meetings to try and force Superintendent Corey Wise out. The superintendent has been with the district for over 2 decades, spending a little less than one of those in his current position. The claims sent shockwaves through the school district, with hundreds of teachers calling out sick yesterday and protesting the apparent secret actions of certain school board members.
If the allegations prove to be true, then we are going to see some really difficult times in Douglas County. We're going to see a mass exodus of individuals that just can't stay here.
The school board president told us earlier this week any formal decision regarding the superintendent will be made in a public meeting, which is required by law. Tonight at 5, there's a special meeting for the school board, and on the agenda is discussing options related to the superintendent's contract. It says they'll take actions as they find them appropriate. We'll, of course, be following up. Live this morning, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Will be interesting to see what comes out of that meeting. Thank you, Colette. Broncos president John Elway is responding to allegations against him in a lawsuit by a former NFL coach. He calls claims from Brian Flores false and defamatory. Elway says he took Flores seriously as a head coaching candidate back in 2019. Flores, meanwhile, accused the Broncos of conducting a sham interview to satisfy the league's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview minority candidates. He also claimed Elway and CEO Joe Ellis appeared hungover and disinterested. Ellis says he looked that way because of a flight in the middle of the night to meet with Flores. Our Broncos insider Troy Rank has the full response from Ellis right now on thedenverchannel.com. Meanwhile, local coaches say the outcome of the Brian Flores case could have major implications for the next generation of professional coaches of color. Over the past year, diversity at the head coaching position in the NFL has decreased. There are now 3 head NFL coaches of color. Just one of them is black. Narcy Jackson and Kyle Reese are with Athletics and Beyond, a nonprofit helping at-risk youth in the Denver Metro succeed on the field and in the classroom. And they say the lack of diversity in coaching within the Broncos organization sends a strong message to Denver's youth.
Society teaches black and brown children in specific how to be employees. They do very little to teach them how to be employers.
I think the message is to young people there's even a limitation within the professional ranks.
Jackson and Reese say if the NFL is truly interested in diversity, they need to start recruiting diverse talent at the top of each organization. Lisa.
It is just about 6:10, and it's a pretty chilly start to our day, but the warm-up is going to happen a lot earlier, and it's going to be a bigger one today, too. We should be right around 20 degrees by 9 o'clock. Above freezing by lunchtime. We'll hit highs a little closer to 40 later today. Heading into the weekend, there's a weak cold front on Sunday. Details of what that's going to do to our temps coming up on the Super 7 Day.
Still icy up to the north up in Fort Collins. You can see that at Riverside and Mulberry right now. We're transitioning from one road to another is going to be a little bit tricky with still some ice and snow, even in between lanes. So just be careful in Fort Collins and Greeley. Going to some of the parking lots, you're still going to find some ice and snow, obviously. So just a little bit slick in some of those spots up that way.
Well, as costs soar at the grocery store, the world's largest meat processor based right here in Greeley pays a huge settlement for price fixing.
Plus, you don't want to find out the hard way. Your car is underinsured, so we have some advice to help protect you down the road. And it's that time of year. Girl Scout cookies have arrived in Colorado, and we have the really tough assignment of doing a taste test on their new flavor this year.